joining us today here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. My name is Chris Swan. Really do appreciate you taking time to spend with us today. Here's how you reach out, 419-794-3030. It's 419-794-3030 online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. On today's show, how to get a good night's sleep in retirement, what the debt ceiling debate means to your personal finances, and what happens if the government fails on their promises to you and your family. All that and more, but first let me check in. Guys, Nolan, Scott, glad to be with you as always. How are you today?
We are doing great. I had Parents Weekend last weekend over at Bowling Green State University, so it was nice going down, spending the time with my son, getting to meet some of his college friends, and had a great time.
Yeah, and I had I had Parents Weekend. I didn't even realize it, but at Kent State, my daughter's a senior. She sent me a picture. She's on the softball team over there, and she sent me a picture today of her getting her pictures taken with her cap and gown and a mock diploma. And Nolan,
Wow.
that's going to be tough for me.
Yeah.
I'm an
That is a
emotional
big
guy
one. I know,
by
right?
nature, and I tell you what, just looking at that picture, I had tears streaming. It's going to be a really, really tough one for me come May. But it's all good.
It's a good way to prep yourself. You can keep looking at that picture to get
That's
ready, and then
right.
hopefully in May you'll be a little bit more composed. You can still let a little bit of emotion shine, but that's fine. No, that's very exciting. Always good to spend time with family, of course. Let's go ahead and dive right in here. There was a story in Market Watch that argues that the proposed new tax bill is going to end Roth IRA conversions for almost everybody, even those who earn less than $400,000 a year. So first of all, I have to ask, is that true? And if it is true, should we consider doing conversions now before these changes become the law of the land?
I think this is just a perfect example of the legislative risk that many Americans are facing right now. And unfortunately, unless you're listening to the show, I think most people are not aware that this is one of those things that's hidden in this potential tax bill. The Roth conversion strategy has been a great strategy that, for years that we've been talking about. So this is a real important one to pay attention to, folks. So for anybody listening today, if you think that your family's tax rates could be higher in the future, this show is really designed for you, talking about how to, look to save and pay less in taxes in the future. So what you have is two different types of retirement savings accounts. What you normally have is called a traditional tax-deferred retirement account. That's commonly like a 401k or an IRA. Mm-hmm. And what happens is when you put money into that account, you're saving money today and getting a deduction. When you take money out in retirement time, then you would pay taxes on that money as you take a withdrawal. So the concept behind that theory is as you get into retirement time, your income will be lower and thus you'll pay less taxes in the future. But it's really a flawed concept. It's flawed in the fact that for me, for the past 26 years of working with local families, I don't have retirees coming in saying, I'm going to spend less money in retirement time. They want to spend those years traveling, going to see the grandkids,
Right.
enjoying things. So actually expenses are oftentimes are the same, if not higher. So they end up paying potentially more in taxes. And then if you compound that, the fact that they also face Social Security taxes, their tax rates ultimately can be a lot higher. Plus, on top of that, if the government changes the tax laws in the future, they could also be at a higher tax bracket. And then if you compound the three-step approach, nobody saves and invests to not have more money, right? You want your money to grow. And so what you want is your dollars to be worth a lot more in the future than they are today. So you're saving money on the smaller contribution to in turn pay taxes on a larger amount in the future. Doesn't make a lot of sense in the situation. So what has happened is over the years, we've had another option available, which is a Roth IRA. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times listeners get confused and they think, well, Roth IRAs are just for you younger kids. And it's true. I think Roth IRAs are great for younger folks, but they're really great for retirees as well. So with a Roth IRA, what you do is you pay the taxes now, and then if you follow the rules, which typically state that the account needs to be open for 5 years or longer, and you need to be 59 and a half, but if you follow the rules, then all of the profits that you make on that account are tax-free. So just imagine if you could step back in time just a year ago.
Sure.
And think about when the stock market was down, with what happened with the coronavirus when the market fell apart. And while the balance was a little bit lower, you could have taken and converted your money then over to a Roth IRA, paid taxes on the lower amount. And now we now know that the market is substantially higher. And so all those profits would have been tax free. But by doing nothing, what happens is now the tax bill has gotten bigger because the account value has gotten bigger. So this is just one more failure of Washington and one more perfect example of how they say they're not going to raise taxes on anybody making over $400,000 is false, because in this particular example, this is one more attack on retirees by eliminating the ability to do a Roth conversion. So for those folks that wanted to go ahead and pay the taxes now versus later, they're looking to do away with that. They're looking to eliminate that in this bill that's coming up. So again, a legislative alert. The rule, if passed, again, it's not passed, but if passed, would take effect virtually ending in 2 months from now, all Roth conversions. So again, what's the takeaway here? If you think your family's tax bill is going to be higher, you have just only 2 months to take advantage of some of the potential rule changes that are going into effect. We have software. I utilize a software program called Tax Clarity, where we can input your information, and what we can do is we can look to try to optimize some things. I had met with a couple this week. It was Barb and Gus, and what they did is they provided me their tax return, and so we were able to take that information, we put it into our Tax Clarity software, ran them a tax roadmap, and what we were able to find is they had about a $30,000 opportunity to still stay in the 12% tax bracket to be able to convert that money over. And the nice thing is they know exactly what their tax bill is going to be by being able to do the conversion now versus waiting to find out, what happens with, taxes in the future. And, if you look at the massive, massive spending that's been going on for years, I think higher taxes for all Americans is going to be likely. The other thing I want to say about, Biden's proposed $400,000, is not going to cost you anything if you make less than that. I would also say that letting tax laws expire is not necessarily the same thing as increasing taxes. So what other people need to remember is that the Trump tax cuts that went into effect, they're set to expire in 2025. So by letting those tax laws expire, he didn't technically raise taxes, he just let them expire. And this, again, is just one more perfect example with this Roth conversion as far as how the government's going to come after you and your money for retirement. But there's things that you can do about it, things that you can take advantage of it. I again encourage you to become educated about your personal situation. I'd also encourage you to have a conversation with your accountant. So you always want to, have a discussion with the person who prepares or files your taxes before making important tax or financial decisions too.
Sure. One thing I'll add to that, which a lot of people, they fail to think about, and it's part of the reason why I'm here with you, Nolan, and doing what we do together, is the Roth IRAs currently are not countable for income. So if you have let's say that you're retiring early, prior to 65 years old, you're not eligible for Medicare, but you still need some health insurance. Well, one of the things with Obamacare, or the Unaffordable Health Care Act, like I like to refer to it as, is we try to work together, you and I, to get their reportable income as low as possible so they can maximize their premium tax credit. Well, how is removing the Roth IRA conversions going to help that or hurt that, for example? I mean, think about it. If you can no longer put money into the Roth IRA to benefit your reportable income in the future, that means your premium tax credits are going to be lower, in turn causing your health insurance premiums to be higher. A lot of people don't like the current Obamacare. The people that love it are, good for them. They're the people that are taking advantage of the premium tax credits, and I would do the same if I was eligible. But I see a big issue coming down, if this bill passes, with How are they going to handle that?
Well, you have such a valid point. I think when you look at it from a healthcare, I know this Friday we're actually meeting with a couple doing this exact situation for the
Exactly.
couple. So they're looking to retire in January, but based upon their income needs and taking money out of traditional retirement vehicles like their 401k, that's going to be countable income for them in determining what their healthcare cost is. And so what we're looking at doing for this husband and wife was to bridge that gap between ages 62 to 65 to get them into Medicare. And so that strategy, just as you're describing, was to take, before the end of this year and move some money out of the retirement vehicle into the tax-free Roth IRA. That way, next year when they're pulling money out, it doesn't show up as countable income.
Right.
And, ultimately able to get their health care costs down by as much as 60%. So again, for those of you that are maybe considering retiring before the ages of 65, this is another area that I think Scott makes a very valid point, where you've got a crucial window of time to maybe consider your options for healthcare, and we'd be certainly happy to have a conversation about structuring it right for you, both from a tax perspective, but also making sure on how it impacts your healthcare cost.
And to get started, all you have to do is give a call, 419-794-3030, or you can go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. The end of the year typically is a time to take a look and see what you can go ahead and convert without, bumping you into another tax bracket. And I think it's doubly, if not even more critical this year as we face stories like this almost weekly, talking about the elimination of, the possibility of eliminating Roth conversions and higher taxation in the future. Be tax savvy. Go ahead and prepare for not just the upcoming year, but all the years you're going to spend in retirement. Sit down, speak with America's Retirement Headquarters, 419-794-3030. A new survey by Mattress Firm finds that more than half of American workers, they feel their on-the-job performance suffers if they don't get enough sleep. It can leave them irritated, unhappy, unmotivated. Sleep can also suffer in retirement, due to worry. And I have to imagine sleepless nights, that's the last thing that any retiree wants. How do you guys help put them at ease?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, we want every retiree's day to be like a Saturday. They can sleep in as late as they want. They can
Absolutely.
enjoy it. Go to bed when they want, stay up late if they like. And while we're talking about mattresses, I just wanted to take a minute and wanted to make sure that I gave a big shout out to a local organization called Let's Build Beds. Mike Metzger and his team, Mike Horvath, and his team. What they do is they build beds for local children who don't have a bed to sleep in. And they've got, I think, almost 1,500 local kids off the ground and into beds through Let's Build Beds. So if you get a minute, you want to check out that organization, letsbuildbeds.com. But when we're talking about retirees and we're looking at what are the concerns keeping them up at night, I think it's things like, will my income last for the rest of my lifetime? Have I saved enough to retire? Am I taking too much risk with my investments? Will unexpected healthcare costs wipe me out? These are all the things that I think we can take a look at. And I know, Scott, maybe you touch on a little bit on the healthcare side.
Well, yeah, during retirement, that's a big expense. You don't get healthier as we age, unfortunately. I wish that was the case, but it doesn't. And things start to break. The older you get, things start to break. And, you want to make sure that you stay on top of your health. I know a lot of the health insurance plans now offer incentives to do preventative care, get your physicals on an annual regular basis to make sure that you stay on top of things. But, thinking about sleep, the study shows that the worst days for sleep are Sunday night and Monday. And I can tell you, that's the way it is for me. I run through Sunday night, what's my calendar look like for this upcoming week? I don't get a lot of sleep. I'm up half the night. And then come Monday, I'm dead tired, and I'm struggling to sleep again. And then by Friday, Saturday, I'm conked out, and it's not a big deal. But, the other thing is, trying to figure out how to get that best sleep and eliminate your health issues is very important. I would tell you this. During retirement on Medicare, there are options, there are plans available to remove that stress. peace of mind knowing that you're in the right plan. One of the things that I do at America's Medicare Associates is I do annual reviews, and right now, with the the enrollment periods, not missing the enrollment periods. We're in annual enrollment period right now, full on. The 15th is when it actually hit, and I know it's only a couple days in, but I am slammed already. My calendar is filled up, and it's with people wanting to know what to be prepared for and what has changed. Like you said earlier about the hidden things in the bill that they're trying to get passed. There are hidden things in there about Medicare. They're looking to do an expansion of Medicare and add dental, vision, and hearing benefits. If any of you think that that's not going to cost you additional money, guess again. Medicare Part B premiums are going up. The standard is $158.50. It's up $10 from last year. And if they add in these auxiliary products that they have right now and make them part of original Medicare, you're going to see an increase. But you can get relief from all of that. There are plans out there that include them with little to no premium at all. So there are options. But getting a good night's sleep, I don't know if this is an endorsement or not, but I have a MyPillow, and it works fantastic. I love it. It works great, and I sleep pretty comfortably. Of course, I'm getting to be an old guy, so it's easy for me to fall asleep.
It's one of those things where you want to have, and I've heard this pitched this way before, where proper plan, other people have built it as sleep insurance, which is really what you want, is you want to be able to get those good nights, not have to worry about what's going to happen with the market, what's going to happen with healthcare expenses, taxation. If you plan for it ahead of time and you develop a strategy for it, you can have that sleep insurance. All you have to do, take the first step, give a call, 419-794-3030. That's how you speak to Nolan. That's how you speak to Scott, the entire team at America's Retirement Headquarters and America's Medicare Associates, 419-794-3030. Or like I said, you can go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. What does all this talk about the debt ceiling mean for your personal finances? We'll talk not only about your investments, but healthcare costs when we come back. This is America's Retirement Headquarters. Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. 419-794-3030 is the number. That's 419-794-3030. You can visit that website as well, americasretirementheadquarters.com. Guys, there's been a lot of talk out of Washington lately about the debt ceiling. Basically, it's the cap on the national debt that the U.S. Treasury can incur. Think of it kind of like a credit limit. And at certain times, Congress is under pressure to raise it so the country can continue to pay its bills. So in that regard, well, not at all like a credit limit. But still, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen tells CNBC that, like so many times before, everything, well, it always seems to work out.
The debt ceiling has been raised almost 80 times since 1960, and almost always on a bipartisan basis. We have to raise the debt ceiling as a routine matter whenever the country runs budget deficits. By failing to pay any of our bills that come due would really be a catastrophic outcome. I fully expect it would cause a recession as well.
And it is looking like a temporary extension. We'll delay a showdown until December, but isn't that just kicking the can down the road? What do you guys tell clients who call up concerned about this?
I think it's, rightfully so. I mean, if you take a look at it, there's a great website to go to. It's usdebtclock.org. Mm-hmm. If I go to usdebtclock.org right now and I take a look at it, the U.S. national debt is now almost at $29 trillion. And that number is so big, it's hard to kind of break it down. So, one way that we could pay off just our current national debt is we could make every taxpayer write a check to the IRS. And right now, that check would need to be written for $228,999.
Oh, yeah, let me get my checkbook out.
Yeah, exactly. But, there's also another statistic. How many people, over the age 18 are working that are eligible to pay taxes? What percentage of Americans pay taxes? Any guesses?
Oh my gosh, I would say probably about 65.
Yeah, it's actually about 50%. So
okay.
only about half the people who are eligible to pay taxes actually pay taxes.
Wow.
So another way to look at this, we could take the current $29 trillion national debt and we could divide it by every man, woman, and child out there in America. And if we did that, that means my 14-year-old son currently owes the government $86,738.
Good luck with that.
And if you remember, he had his first job working at Stevens Gardens over in Monclova, where he was picking strawberries, and I think he got $0.25 a quart, and make about $8 or $10 a day.
How many quart would that be? Let's see.
He better get back out in the field, right?
Right.
Speaking of Stevens Gardens, we do have our fall festival coming out just in a couple of days. So if you want to come out, if you haven't got your pumpkins yet for Halloween, make sure you buzz on over to the website. It's americasretirementheadquarters.com. And check out our events page, and feel free to register to come out to our fall festival over at Stevens Gardens. But yeah, when you look at this national debt, I mean, at what point do you just stop the nonsense, right? So that's just the current national debt. Now, if you wanted to add on top of that, what are unfunded liabilities that we have? They talk about Social Security going broke. We just did a show recently talking about how that's going even coming quicker.
Right.
The Social Security liability is $21 trillion. The Medicare liability right now is $33 trillion. The U.S. unfunded liabilities right now, again, according to the website usdebtclock.org, is $157 trillion. That's a liability per person of $474,079 right now if you divide that up by every man, woman, and child. So we've got some serious issues that our country is facing. And don't get me wrong, I love this country. I served in the Marine Corps. This is still the best place ever to be. Mm-hmm. And, I'm patriotic. I pay my fair share of taxes. Mm-hmm. But, again, this is an area where sometimes people just tune out, but that's the worst thing to do.
I agree.
Again, what you need to do is you need to look at your personal financial situation and take advantage of the things that you can do to get control of your own individual situations. Then I'd also say sometimes you maybe turn the news off. So I hear people that talk about some extreme measures, like moving from the U.S. dollar to foreign currency or cryptocurrency. You also can make some short-term decisions that have long-term impact. That being like, I'm going to draw Social Security early because I better get what I can before it goes broke. But by drawing your Social Security benefits early, what happens is you end up facing a lifetime penalty for doing that. So to me, the biggest risk of the massive debt is, again, higher taxes in the future. And one of the ways that you can do that is to shift money. Again, look at some options before the end of the year with Roth conversions and or contributions. Life insurance can also provide some tax-free benefits. So there's tax advantage strategies. Also, special alert for anybody who's over the age 72. If you're philanthropic, you donate to your church, a charity, or an organization that's important to you, there's also strategies that allow you to donate money directly from your retirement account in the form of your required minimum distribution directly to the charity, which keeps your individual tax rates lower and possibly gives more money to the organization that you want to support.
I think that a lot of people don't really realize when you hear that $1 trillion, people don't really think or they don't really know what that means. And with you breaking it down like you just did with, the Medicare, the Social Security, all of the breakdowns, it really hits home. And a lot of people don't look at that. They don't want to look at it. And I agree. Turn off the TV and don't watch this stuff because it will drive you absolutely batty. But here's a novel idea. Why don't we stop spending money we don't have, and why don't we pay our bills?
Wow, imagine that concept.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not sure. Maybe I need to go head to Washington and maybe run for office or something like that.
We can.
It
We
just
could
makes
get them in
sense.
our financial planning software and
Yeah.
show them the budgeting section.
Exactly right.
It's
It's a
right
budget.
there.
It's a simple
right
budget.
there.
I don't know. This is so frustrating, and it just makes you pull your hair out. But I don't know. You got to stop spending so much money like this because that debt is unbelievable.
Like I said, there are a lot of parallels between the government's debt and your own personal debt you have. But unlike us, where we can't just when we max out our credit cards, we can't say, we're going to raise our own credit limit. That's essentially
Right.
what they're doing.
Exactly.
Look, we're not advocating by any means not paying your taxes. Pay what you are entitled to pay, but don't pay a cent more than that. I've never once, and I'm going to go and speak on behalf of you guys, I've never once written a check to the IRS and said, "Gosh, I feel so patriotic right now." It's not that. Make sure you do what you can to preserve what you can, and that all starts with a proper strategy. America's Retirement Headquarters, they're here for you to help with that. Just take the first step. Give a call, 419-794-3030, or you can find them online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. It's no secret that many state and local governments not on track to keep up with their pension obligations, and actually a new report from Moody's Investor Service warns of a similar problem with the health insurance that they've promised to their retirees. We've said it many times on the show, healthcare is going to be a huge expense in retirement, so I'm curious, what happens if these government institutions one day have to tell their retirees that, well, they're on their own when it comes to coverage?
Well, Chris, actually, that's happened. When Obamacare first came out, there was a lot of municipalities and organizations that actually said, we're not paying for this anymore. That's not going to happen. And, you run into, everybody has doom and gloom. And a lot of us insurance agents back in the day when Obamacare came out, they were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? They're looking to socialize medicine and that. There's always an opportunity in there. So, one of the things that they did was they forced the spouses to go off on their own plans. They're not going to cover spouses. One of the things that you do is if that does happen, these pensions run dry, they're going to have to go on the open market. They're going to have to get coverage. That's where we come into play. We can help them navigate through the open market, retirement, Medicare. You're going to see a lot of that happen. But, don't be surprised. It could happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but you never know.
It's one of those things where it's better to go and prepare, go and have a plan put in place, and this doesn't have to be something you need to do years ahead of time. Again, this is where Scott really comes into play, helping you out with that, making sure you choose the right healthcare decisions going forward as part of America's Medicare Associates, as part of all of America's Retirement Headquarters, available by calling that same number, 419-794-3030, and on the website, americasretirementheadquarters.com. We want to thank you for joining us this week, as we always do. Really do appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend with us. Hopefully you found the show insightful. And guys, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with the final word.
The best things in life are free, but sooner or later the government's going to find a way to tax them.